You can avoid it all you want and you can work through any emotions that are there that are preventing you from doing it. But really, there's still going to be the fear that's there. It's still going to exist. And that is, I think, the definition of masculinity is not identifying with fear that is there, but being able to do something that you know is right, separate from the presence of it. And that I think, I don't know if that ever fully goes away. I don't know if fear ever goes away.
I actually am not a proponent of getting rid of fear. I think that keeps you alive. Like you were talking about, like you die. I believe it keeps you alive, man. That's how you experience this life part of it is to have that fear. That fear keeps us with that edge. That's why men are adrenaline junkies in a lot of ways. There's a lot of guys out there who are adrenaline junkies because there's an element of fear to that adrenaline, because there is the element of possibility that it's not all safe and that you're inherently risking something. And that is also enjoyable and terrifying at the same time, which creates exhilaration, right? So it's beautifully said, brother. I love that as well. But yeah, I love that you're opening up about that because fear is a driving force for you. For me, it is as well. And for all men out there, but guys that allow the fear to overtake them, that's where they end up living a life of just mediocrity.
Yeah, and that's why knowing yourself is single-handedly one of the most powerful things that you can ever do. And self-awareness is something that a gift that I feel like I've had. And being like I reverted to earlier with having incredible emotional capacity to support people around me and also evolve and change myself. I've always known a lot of my weaknesses pretty well, better than almost anybody else. There's not a lot of things somebody else could tell me about me that I don't already know about a weakness that I'm experiencing within myself. And that's where there's ways that fear runs us that we would be able to move past if we understood that part of us that is scared from that experience. And that's why as men, if you don't understand yourself emotionally, you don't understand your deeper rooted programming of why you are the way you are, then it's going to be difficult to overcome the fear because you're going to identify with it. And there's still ways that I identify with fear that I'm not aware of. But I think for the most part, I've lived a pretty incredible life to this point because of my ability to understand my susceptibilities, understand my natural, based off my upbringing, dispositions, and be able to do the opposite of what my programming says that I should do because of self-awareness. And so that's as men, like you're going to be ran by fear if you don't understand yourself because you're going to identify with the fear. You can't know that you don't even know that you're experiencing fear because you're identifying with it. It's like the answer, I can't go to this place. Oh, I can't do that because you're fully identified with that voice. But if you understood at a deeper level where that comes from, why you are that way, you can begin to disassociate from it being you. But as long as you believe that fear is you, of course, you're going to fully identify with it. So self-awareness and understanding the self is one of those powerful, and our weaknesses and our susceptibilities and our programming is single-handedly the most powerful tool that you can have. So you can start to separate from those voices that are telling you that you shouldn't and that you can't.
Was this something you always had early on in your days? Or this awareness of yourself and of your abilities and everything else, was this something you carried with you early on? Or is this something that started to become more into your field of view as you started to kind of evolve into this man that you are today?
Yeah, I think there's layers to it. I think naturally I was way more gifted than most men in the department of self-awareness, for sure. But it's been levels to it. I've gone deeper and deeper and deeper as I've been exposed to more and more. And that's the beautiful part is that it doesn't really end. Like it doesn't end. Yeah. Like as I go deeper into this game of life and go into these other levels, it brings up more and more and more. And I've developed a relationship with it where I know that as I go deeper into this game of life, it's going to keep bringing up more and more deeper stuff that I have. And so it's almost, I've come to terms with it being a never ending process of it just being layers that I have to go through and process. So I don't see it as like a switch on or off of like, oh, now I'm ran by fear and now I'm not ran by fear. It's just
Yeah.
naturally as you go, it's like the process of going to the NFL, right? Like me playing high school football might be a little easier than playing college football. And then playing in the NFL is going to be a little more difficult than playing college football. And like as you go deeper into these layers of life and in the game of life, you have different problems and different things that you have to solve that bring up deeper rooted insecurities that you didn't even know were there. And that's what I love. I love the complexity of having to go in and find where I have limitations in myself and being able to overcome them. And that's what makes life so fun to me, is my ability to be able to go in, find them, rewire them, and then be able to put a different programming in that supports me more in this season of life. So it never ends. It's just the problems become different. And as life becomes more like complex and you master certain levels, it brings up different things that you didn't even know existed before. It's like you can't be exposed to certain levels of insecurity if you don't have the event happen to bring up that certain insecurity. And there's certain levels to it, right? My problems when I'm trying to make $60,000 as an entrepreneur compared to $200,000 as an entrepreneur, compared to $1 million as an entrepreneur, bring up different things inside of us. So
Yeah.
it's cool to be part of that, and I've established a relationship with it where it just like that's just how it is. It's not a on or off. It's just always evolving.
Well, and I think that the way you're even speaking about this, I think is already a message that men can take away from this episode, is the fact that you're speaking about it in a way that you are embracing the constant evolution of who you are and what life is. I think, and oftentimes for some reason, and I don't know why, I still have yet to figure this one out, but we feel like at some point in manhood, we're fixed. Like there's no more evolution. Like, you know what you know, you can do what you can do. Right. And it's like, bro, no, we do have this ability. Keyen's perfectly dead on. We have this ability to just constantly continue to evolve.
Yeah. But with that, man, it's like, I notice the tension that I have in certain moments to want to hold on to that for sure. For sure. I experience levels of that as well, of like, oh, this feels good. Okay. Just plowed through that. That's great. Let me just stay here for a bit. And I think that's okay. I think that's beautiful. I think there's periods of when we're going through substantial growth and we have to take massive action and be able to plow through things and work through things. And then after, on the other side of that, there's a little bit of consolidation of enjoying the fruits of the action that we took. And I think that's beautiful. But then it's being able to then see when the next time is to take the big, massive action, be able to stay aligned with it. And that's where, as time's gone on, I'm less about always taking frantic action and more about being in tune with what are the big pieces of action that I need to take, and then being able to enjoy the space in between there. Because I think naturally for me, moving forward and progressing, it's not hard for me, and I've loved it, but enjoying the process of that experience, I have lacked in the past because of just trying to get to the target. So for me, it's being able to move forward, but also find levels of enjoyment in it at the same time. And but then it's very important to be aware of when we're our susceptibility to want to peak off and level off. So there's this kind of like fine line that you can dance. Maybe it's because of the level that I'm at with it, of my relationship with it, that I can talk about it in that way. But there could be a dance between being able to enjoy it and really reap the fruits of the experience of the action that you've taken, and then being able to know when the right time is to then take the next leg up and take that massive action.
No, absolutely, man. And we find comfort in those plateaus. Like those plateaus are men and I think people in general, we just love to sit in those plateaus because it becomes easy. Once we know it's a known commodity, right? We know exactly what to expect. We know how to handle it, and we're good to go. But that, I think there is, like you said, there is value to living in that a little bit here and there, but then still allowing yourself to leave that and challenge yourself.